Hello, my name is Vicki von Sadovszky, and first of all, I want to congratulate you all on getting funded. This is a wonderful step in your career, but I'm here to talk to you about one of the many things that you have to keep track of now that you are funded, and we're going to talk today about interim and annual reports. The first thing I'd like to do is acknowledge the two TSNRP grant managers who helped put together some of these slides, Ms. Brandy Peterson and Ms. Jaya Pothin. So what I want to talk to you about today is the value of these reports to the organization, why they're important. The second thing I'm going to describe is major sections of these reports, and then give you some tips and strategies on how to complete them. The required reports that you need to have are the interim progress report, the annual report, and the final report. I just wanted to list them here on this slide so you know exactly what's due. I'm only going to be talking about the interim and annual reports in this presentation. The interim report is due 6 months after your award starts, and we'll talk a bit more about this in a minute. And the annual report is due on the anniversary of your award date. I'm going to give you a broad overview of why these are important and then get down to details in a few minutes. The purpose of these forms is essentially to describe to the grantee organization, which would be Tri-Service, your accomplishments, changes to the study, budget, and deliverables. And let me go into those a little bit more detail. Your accomplishments are what were the major goals and objectives of your study, and are you really accomplishing them? Are you staying on track with your timeline? The director needs to know this so any adjustments can be made if necessary. Did you have opportunities for training, both for yourself, and are you mentoring or training other people? The other thing is, were your results disseminated, and to which communities were they disseminated? The other thing that needs to be known are changes. Are there changes to your grants in regards to methods, anticipated or actual problems, any delays in your timeline? Did you have any impact to your budget? Are there any changes in human subjects? It's important to know that you don't do these changes and then just put them in the report. You need to talk to the director first, but you need to document any changes so there's a record of these changes and why they were made. The next section, or the next area of concern with these reports, is budget. How much have you spent out of your budget? How much do you have left? And will that be adequate? Are you staying on track with your budget? And one of the reasons why the director wants to know this is in case you need a no-cost extension. If you do need a no-cost extension, again, you have to talk and negotiate this with the director, but there has to be a solid rationale for this. And how will you meet the aims of the study without getting any more money? The final area that these reports cover are the products or deliverables. What publications or presentations have you done from this study or project? Have you developed any websites or internet sites? Are there any technologies that have been developed out of it? Any inventions? And then other products, as you can see listed on the slide there. These are the things that Tri-Service wants to know, and they help promote not only your work, but the agency as well. I'd like to talk now on why these are important from the grantee agency or Tri-Service's perspective. Directors compile this information to demonstrate, 1, responsible conduct with government funds, 2, to assess the Tri-Service's benchmark because they have funding priorities, and are they meeting those priorities? And justification also for the grantee's organization's existence. And then also there's a little bit of boasting rights. We're providing money to further knowledge in military nursing research and evidence-based practice. I put a comic in here, and as you can see, Alice kind of blows off the reports in a company. However, I want you to know the director will read these reports. They are formal reports, and take that in mind. And sometimes those reports go up the chain of command, so don't skimp on these reports. Now I'd like to talk about the individual reports. And the first one I'm going to talk about is the interim report. And let's get into some more detail here about what's expected on these interim reports. The purpose of the interim progress report is to describe the accomplishments in the initial stages of the project. One, you want to identify any issues that you have come up with, and any planned solutions. It's not enough to have an issue, you have to come up with, or a problem. Ideally, you want to come up with a solution or consult someone on how to solve that problem. You want to communicate any adjustments to the timeline or budget. And the other thing you want to do, or keep in mind, is that these interim reports are due in 6 months after the award start date. The format of the interim reports are as follows. There's usually a progress section that covers the approvals, study procedures, key personnel, supplies and equipment, and other. Then there's the problems and obstacles. Everyone has problems with their projects. They don't start on time. There might be problem with recruitment. These have to be reported there. The next steps that you're going to do with the project, and then if you were in a mentored project, you also have to include a mentor evaluation, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Then again, of course, your current budget and your budget analysis. Are you meeting those goals? How much have you spent, etc.? And then your timeline and timeline analysis. Are you on track with your milestones? What the director will do with this information is, one, see if your report is complete and accurate, but they're looking to see that you're making good progress in getting the project started, whether you're achieving your goals, whether your mentor's engaged with you, and if there's potential barriers have been identified and you're working through them. It's important to note that if you run into issues or even have questions about filling out the report, contact your grant manager or the director, because they're there to help you. The next thing I'd like to talk about are annual reports. The purpose of annual reports are very similar to interim reports, but it gives an overall view of a longer view of what's happened during the study or project. You're going to again report on your accomplishments and dissemination activities. You're going to identify any issues that came up or solutions. You're going to review your timeline and budget, and again, how are you meeting those milestones? And then the director will use this to determine whether the project needs more additional support, such as time. And then also, if you're running into severe issues, let's say you had a great project, but you just couldn't get the recruitment because there was mass deployments or something like that, maybe this project needs to be suspended or terminated early. Those are the kinds of things that the director has to decide. These annual progress reports are due 30 days after the anniversary of the start date of the grant. Now, it's important to note that if you are within 90 days of finishing the project, then you just have to do the final award. The format for the annual progress reports are very similar to the interim reports. Again, you have your significant events, the project activity, which covers the abstract, your specific aims or PICO questions, progress to date, any problems or obstacles again, and reportable outcomes. Again, you're going to talk about what you've disseminated off from this, any conferences, abstracts, etc. You're going to talk about how you've been able to recruit and retain subjects or people within your project, and talk again about budget and timeline. Are you meeting those milestones, and are you on track? Again, the director evaluates all this information. 1, to see if the report is complete and accurate. 2, to see if you're achieving your goals and meeting your benchmarks. And the other thing is to look at adequate management of the budget and timeline. Again, if you're on a mentored project, the director is going to make sure that your mentor is engaged and that you're listening to any advice that your mentor gives you. One of the primary things of these reports is to see if there's any potential problems and how the team, whether it be the research or EBP project team, are dealing with those issues. And again, it's so the director can anticipate any requests, such as no-cost extensions or possibly additional funds. If you have to make changes to a project, 1, you have to ask the director first, but 2, this would be documented in interim and annual reports under significant events. Anticipated changes should be mentioned in the report, such as if you had to change a recruiting site, those kinds of things. But don't request new changes in a report. This is not the venue to do that. Again, you must contact the director directly. Now let me talk about mentor evaluations. For mentored projects, you must have a mentor evaluation. Again, these forms are all available on the Tri-Service website. This evaluation, your mentor will complete, by the way, will include assessment of your progress as a PI toward the stated goals of the study or EBP project, how the team is working toward progress, the plan for completion and guidance on that completion, and any other pertinent comments that they see fit to relay to the director. You also need the mentor's signature and date. Now, it's good to negotiate with your mentor knowing that these reports are due early on and see how much time your mentor needs to complete this form. It's also good for your mentor to have at least a draft of your interim or annual report so they can see what you're writing or at least discuss it with you. So make sure you leave enough time for this. Now I'd like to move to tips and strategies in writing these reports. One of the first things you need to do is read and reread the guidelines on all the forms. There are a lot of instructions on these forms. You will find them in red font. If you don't understand something, you need to ask because these reports need to be complete. Put the due dates in your calendar for these forms and block off time ahead of time to do that. It will always take a little bit more time because these reports, especially if you're doing them for the first time, can be just time consuming, and that they're not bad, it just is what it is, but they take a lot of time. Your applicant organization, such as your duty station or the university you're with, should notify you when these forms are due, but that doesn't mean they will. And if it's like Nationwide Children's, they'll often give you a 5-day notice that these forms are due, and that's usually not enough time to plan, especially if you're trying to get a mentor evaluation as well. So give a list. Also, be proactive in the way of if you need something from your organization, like final budget reports and that, make sure you have a list ready for your applicant organization so they can get those forms for you. And make sure you have all the information needed from your applicant organization. Again, they should know how to do this, but that doesn't mean they will get all the information you need. Some final thoughts on this whole process. Do not surprise the director with new information in your forms. This is never a good strategy. Submit your reports on time. It shows that you're being responsible with government funds and that you're serious about the project. Plan time, again, to complete these forms. These are not something you can do in an afternoon. And that be succinct with your information, but all the information must be present. Be honest on these forms. Do not fudge or try and cover up things. You know, problems happen in every project that I've ever been involved with, and that some are foreseeable, some are unforeseeable. It's important that you just clearly state them and be upfront with the problems and the solutions. Proofread them prior to turning them in. This is a formal report, and it might go above the director of Tri-Service. And if you need help, by all means, ask for it. Tri-Service is there to help you every step of the way. Okay, I have one final thought. I'm leaving you with kind of a demotivational poster, even though I want you to be motivated. This is from one of my favorite movies, Office Space. And if you have watched that, you know about the TPS reports. Care about these forms because it shows that you are being a responsible citizen of this money and the responsibility that has been given to you. And after you complete the forms, go ahead and watch Office Space if you haven't, because it's a fun film. So congratulations again on your funding. This is an exciting time in your career, and good luck.